I remember the first time I met Claire. We were both fresh faces, struggling to climb the corporate ladder. I was new to the company, just starting to build a reputation for myself, while Claire was driven, ambitious, and always pushing herself. We became fast friends, two people who understood what it was like to be overlooked, to have to fight for every inch of success. She had this energy about her, an unstoppable force that made people take notice, and I admired her for it. We worked long hours together, shared the stress of tight deadlines and impossible targets. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel something more for her than just friendship, but I buried those feelings. She was too focused on her career, and I was content to support her from the sidelines. Then came the day everything changed. It was one of those days that felt ordinary at first. We were in the office, late as usual, when a sudden emergency call had us both rushing to a meeting outside the building. I don't know what happened exactly, but before I knew it, I was caught in the middle of an attack meant for her. Someone had followed us, someone dangerous. I didn't hesitate. She was the future of this company, and I couldn't let anything happen to her. So I threw myself in front of her when the man lunged. The knife sank into my side and I could barely stay on my feet, but somehow, I managed to get us both to safety. I woke up in the hospital days later, groggy and in pain. The wound wasn't life-threatening, but it had hurt like hell. As I opened my eyes, I saw Claire sitting by my bed, her face pale, eyes wide with concern. She was here, and for a moment I felt like everything would be okay. But when she spoke, the words hit me like ice. "Liam, you're a hero. Thank you for saving me," she said, her voice soft, but there was something about it that felt distant. She wasn't looking at me the way I'd hoped. Her eyes weren't filled with affection or love, but just gratitude. Gratitude for saving her life, not for who I was to her, not for the man I'd been before. I tried to push the pain aside, both physical and emotional. "Of course," I managed, swallowing down the lump in my throat. "I'd do it again for you," but she just nodded, standing up to leave. "I'm glad you're okay, Liam. We'll talk more later." And that was it. The room felt colder, emptier as she walked out, leaving me with my thoughts and the hollow feeling that was creeping in. I had sacrificed everything for her. Everything. My body, my health, my sense of self, and yet all she could offer me was gratitude. No promises. No reassurance that this meant something deeper to her. Something beyond the professional connection we shared. In that moment, as the pain from the wound throbbed in my side, I realized something I had been too blind to see before. Claire's gratitude wasn't enough. She'd never asked me to make that sacrifice. She'd never seen me as anything more than an instrument in her rise to power. I was just useful, and that thought stung worse than the knife in my flesh. It's been months since that night in the hospital, and life, in some strange way, kept moving forward. But I wasn't. I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was broken between Claire and me, and no matter how much I tried to push it away, the ache never went away. Claire had been promoted to CEO a few months ago, and I was genuinely happy for her. Watching her walk into that new role felt like a victory of sorts, but also a reminder of everything I had lost. She was living the dream we had once shared, but somewhere along the way, I had become a ghost in her life, and I wasn't sure how to get back to her. She was busy, wrapped up in meetings, deals, and everything that came with running the company. Every time I reached out to her, she was either too tired or too focused on her work. I used to be her #1 priority, and now I felt like an afterthought. But I didn't complain. I didn't want to seem like the jealous boyfriend who couldn't understand her ambition. I stayed quiet, bottling up my feelings, letting her career grow while mine stood still. It wasn't that I didn't support her, God knows I did. I wanted her to succeed. But as her world expanded, mine shrank. I was stuck in the same position, still working the same job, still fighting the same battles. She had become the person I once dreamed we both would be, and I was left behind. Then one day, the inevitable happened. She walked into the office, eyes shining, her voice full of excitement. "Liam, I've got big news." I looked up from my desk, half expecting it to be just another update about work. "What's going on?" Her smile was contagious, but there was something behind it, something I couldn't place. "I've been promoted. I'm working directly with the board, helping with the company's new ventures. They're moving me into the top role, and it's all happening so fast." I nodded, a tight smile on my face. "That's amazing, Claire. I'm proud of you. but inside it felt like I was suffocating. I hadn't expected it to hit me this hard. I thought I'd be okay, that I could handle it. But hearing her say it out loud, seeing her excitement, knowing she was climbing higher while I was still stuck, it felt like someone had knocked the wind out of me. She was unstoppable, and I wasn't. She was on a fast track to success, and I was barely holding on, she went on, oblivious to the storm in my chest. I've also been working with some big investors now. You know Marcus, right? He's been advising the board, and he's been pushing for some major changes in the company. He's even offered me a bigger stake in the company. Marcus? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I knew who Marcus was, the charming, successful businessman who had always been in Claire's orbit. She smiled again, but there was something in her expression I couldn't read. Yeah, he's a great guy. We've been working closely together. He's helped me see how to grow faster, how to move even higher up. I think this is the right move. I could feel it then, the wedge growing between us. She was more than just a colleague to Marcus. She was someone he saw as a business partner, someone he was investing time and energy into. And here I was, standing in her shadow, clinging to the hope that things would go back to how they were. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was scared that if I said the wrong thing, I'd lose her for good. I walked into the office that morning, expecting another day of routine meetings and reports. But something felt different. The energy in the room was off, like the calm before a storm. As I made my way toward my desk, I saw Claire across the room laughing, her eyes sparkling. She was with the CEO, Marcus. My stomach twisted. I'd always known about Marcus. He was influential, wealthy, and someone I didn't fully trust. He'd always been a bit too polished, a bit too smooth. I tried to brush it off. Claire was smart, independent. I believed she wouldn't fall for his charm, but there they were, laughing together as if everything was fine. As if I wasn't standing there watching them, Claire turned and caught my gaze. The smile faded from her face, replaced by something I couldn't quite place. It wasn't joy, it wasn't anger. It was cold, distant. I walked closer, my heart racing. "Hey, Claire," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's going on?" She glanced at Marcus, then back at me. "Liam, I think it's time for you to step back," she said, her voice surprisingly flat. "You've done enough here," I froze. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Step back?" I repeated, my throat tightening. "What do you mean?" "I've worked my ass off for this company, for you." She crossed her arms, and I saw a flicker of something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Indifference. "It's time for you to move on, Liam. I'm moving forward, and you need to too." I stared at her, my mind racing. She was serious. This wasn't just some misunderstanding. She was telling me to leave, to step aside. Is this really happening? I asked, my voice shaking. "After everything we've been through? After everything I've done for you?" She sighed, and I could see her frustration mounting. "Liam, I'm sorry, but it's for the best. Marcus is offering me more opportunities. This is where I need to be." The words sliced through me like a blade. The woman I had given everything to, the woman I had sacrificed for, was standing there coldly pushing me away. For him, for his money, his influence. "Are you serious right now?" I snapped, taking a step forward, my fists clenched. "You're really choosing him over me." Her expression didn't change. "I didn't choose him, Liam. I chose what's best for me. I can't keep pretending that things are the same." Her words felt like a slap across my face. I had always known Claire was ambitious, but I never thought she'd betray me like this. The person who had once been my partner, my equal, had become someone I didn't recognize. I needed to know the truth, so I pushed. "So what? You just walk away from me, from everything we had? For him?" Her gaze dropped to the floor. "I never wanted to hurt you. But yes, I'm choosing Marcus. His wealth, his power, it's the future I've always dreamed of. I thought I could have both, but I can't." I felt like the world was spinning. My head was buzzing with disbelief. She had left me for him. She had chosen everything I had warned her against. The life I thought we were building together had never meant as much to her as I'd thought. "You used me," I said, the words barely escaping my lips. "I helped you get here. I supported you every step of the way, and this is how you repay me?" She flinched, but she didn't apologize. Instead, she said, "I did what I had to do." My heart was breaking, but I wasn't going to let her see it. "You didn't just hurt me, Claire. You used me to get to where you wanted to be, and now that you've gotten there, you don't need me anymore." The tears that I had been holding back for months were threatening to spill, but I forced them down. "I hope you get everything you wanted," I said through clenched teeth. "But know this, you'll never have me again." She didn't even try to stop me as I turned and walked away. I knew it was over. I knew the woman I had loved and fought for wasn't coming back, and as I stepped out of the office, I realized something. This wasn't just about her. It wasn't about Marcus. It was about me. About who I had been, who I was now, and who I wanted to become. And whatever that was, it didn't have anything to do with Claire anymore. She leaned in a little, her voice lower now. "But hey, don't worry. I'm still here for you. I haven't forgotten where I came from." I nodded, though the words felt hollow. "Of course, I know." She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and left the office to continue with her meeting. And I sat there, staring at the empty space she left behind, wondering when I became the person who was forgotten in her success. I tried to tell myself it wasn't her fault. She was doing what she was meant to do. She was reaching for her dreams, and I was proud of her, even though the weight of it crushed me. But as the days passed, I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. He was a shadow in the background of her success, but his presence lingered in everything she said about the company's future. His voice in the meetings, his influence in her decisions, it all added up to something that didn't feel right. I wasn't sure what it was yet, but I could feel the distance between Claire and me growing wider with every passing day. Weeks passed since that day, the day Claire walked away from me without a second thought. Every moment since then had been consumed by one thing: revenge. I had spent hours, days even, gathering information. Every conversation, every little detail was now a piece of the puzzle I was putting together. I wasn't sure when my pursuit for justice turned into something darker, but here I was, on the verge of exposing everything. I could still feel the sting of her betrayal, the weight of her choice to leave me for Marcus. Every night I would replay our last conversation over and over in my head. "I did what I had to do," she'd said. I had tried to convince myself that I wasn't doing this for revenge. I told myself I was trying to bring the truth to light. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just that. I'd reached out to a few people in the company, trusted allies, people who still had some loyalty to me. I had a plan. A damn good plan. The details about Claire's rise, Marcus's manipulative tactics, everything that could expose them both, it was all at my fingertips. All I had to do was take the final step. But as the pieces began to fall into place, I couldn't help but question myself. What was I really after? Was this about exposing the truth? Or was I simply so consumed by anger that I was willing to destroy everything just to make them feel what I felt? The lines between justice and revenge were getting blurrier by the day. I had once been a man of ideals, of integrity. But now, I wasn't sure who I had become. I sat in my car one night, parked outside Claire's office building. The windows were dark, the building eerily silent. It had been hours since I received the last bit of information I needed. I had everything. But for the first time, doubt crept in. What would my life look like after I exposed them? Was this the answer to all my pain? Or would I just end up as hollow as the man I had become in the process? I rubbed my eyes, trying to shake off the exhaustion. The weight of it all was crushing me. I was so tired of holding on to the anger, tired of planning, tired of living in the past. It was like I was becoming a part of the game I once hated. I wasn't just trying to make them pay anymore. I was consumed by it. And no matter how much I told myself I was doing the right thing, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing myself in the process. I reached for my phone and saw Claire's name flash across the screen. It was a message from her. The words blurred in front of me. She was asking how I was, hoping we could talk. I didn't know how to answer. How could I, when all I felt was betrayal and anger? She had never once reached out before this. Her words were just an attempt to ease her conscience, a final check-in to ensure there were no strings left untied. I typed out a response, then deleted it. Then typed another and deleted it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pretend to be the man she wanted me to be anymore. Not after everything. I put the phone down and let out a deep breath. There was no going back now. I had come too far, built too much, to just walk away. But the question still lingered in my mind. Was I doing this for the right reasons? There was no easy answer, and that's what terrified me. I knew that the consequences of what I was planning would change everything. There was no turning back after this. And yet, something inside me told me that the only way to regain control of my life, to regain a sense of self, was to follow through. The feeling of being powerless, of being left behind. Those feelings were still raw, still too close. I wanted to make her realize what she had done. I wanted her to see what she'd cost me, what she'd taken from me. But would that be enough? Or would I be left standing in the ruins of a life I once knew, with nothing to show for it but ashes and regrets? I had a choice to make. But for now, the plan stayed in motion. The pieces were in place and I was ready. But the truth was, I wasn't sure if I was still the man I thought I was. And maybe, just maybe, that was the hardest part of all. I stood outside Claire's office, my pulse racing. The cold air did nothing to calm the heat in my chest. I had waited for this moment, for the right time to confront her. The woman I had once loved. The woman who had destroyed everything. I knocked once sharply before pushing the door open. Claire looked up from her desk, her eyes flickering with recognition. "Liam," she said, voice steady, but I could hear the edge. The guilt she was trying to hide was right there beneath the surface. "Shut the door," I said, my voice colder than I meant it to be. She didn't hesitate. As the door clicked shut behind me, I felt like the walls were closing in. "I know everything, Claire," I started, staring at her. "Everything about you, about Marcus, about the games you've been playing." My hands clenched at my sides, and I stepped forward. "You used me. You used me to get ahead, and now you're trying to pretend it was all for business. But I know the truth." She flinched at the words, and for a brief second, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear, maybe regret. But she quickly masked it, standing up from her chair. "I don't know what you think you know, but don't lie to me," I cut her off. "I saw you. I saw how you changed, how you became someone else. You've thrown away everything, including me, for power. And now you stand here pretending it was all part of the plan." Her face hardened and she crossed her arms, but there was a crack in her composure. "You think you know me? You think you know what it took for me to get here? I had to do what I had to do, Liam. You don't get it." "You don't get it," I shot back, my voice rising. "You used me, your so-called friend, because it was convenient. Because I was there and I was easy. You thought I wouldn't question it, that I'd just sit back and let you do whatever you wanted. Well, guess what? I'm not that person anymore." I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, but I didn't back down. I couldn't. "Stop pretending like you didn't know what you were doing. You wanted Marcus, and I was just a stepping stone. But now I'm done being that. You want to explain yourself, Claire? Then do it, because I'm not leaving until you do." She stared at me, her face a mixture of anger and something else I couldn't quite place. "It was never supposed to be like this," she said quietly. "I never wanted to hurt you. I thought—" "No," I interrupted. "You didn't think." "You didn't care enough to think. You saw what you wanted and you took it. And now you expect me to just let it go? No, Claire. I won't." She let out a long, shaky breath. "I'm sorry," she said, but the words were flat, like she was saying them out of obligation. "But this is who I am now. Who you are now," I repeated, disbelief thick in my voice. "You really think I'm supposed to accept this? That everything we had doesn't mean anything to you?" She looked down, her jaw tightening. "I don't have a choice. I can't just throw away everything I've worked for because of some idealism, Liam." She shook her head. "I'm sorry, but I won't apologize for wanting more. For wanting to succeed." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had been right.
She wasn't sorry.
She wasn't going to admit the depth of her betrayal. This wasn't about business, it wasn't about survival. It was about ambition. Selfish, unapologetic ambition. I took a deep breath, swallowing the bitterness that was rising in my throat. "You didn't just betray me, Claire. You betrayed everything we had. And for what? Power? Money?" Her gaze shifted, but she didn't answer, and I could see the truth in her silence. "I never wanted revenge," I continued, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "But here we are. I'm done being angry. I'm done being the man you used to control. I've realized something. You're not the same person I fell in love with, and I'm not the same person I used to be either." Claire opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. "I'm not here to get closure. I'm not here to get you to beg for forgiveness. I'm here to tell you that this is the last time I'll ever let you walk all over me. You can keep Marcus, keep the power, but I'll keep myself." For the first time in a long while, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't just anger or pride. There was regret, but it was too little, too late. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said, my voice steady. "Because I'm done. We're done." I turned on my heel and walked out of the office without looking back. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like a part of me was missing. The hole she had left in me wasn't just filled. It was closed. The phone rang, its shrill sound cutting through the silence of my apartment. I almost didn't want to answer. It was her number. Claire. I had spent months trying to move past everything, months of wrestling with anger, confusion, and betrayal. I didn't want to feel anything for her anymore, but the memories wouldn't let me forget. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the green button. My chest tightened, my heart beating faster. Finally, I pressed it. Liam? Her voice, tentative and soft, was almost unrecognizable. Claire. I said her name slowly, as if I was still trying to figure out who she was to me. She paused, like she was struggling to find the right words. I owe you an apology. A real one. I leaned back in my chair, the words washing over me. This wasn't the confrontation I had imagined. There was no defensiveness in her voice, no anger, just regret and something else. You don't owe me anything, I said quietly, feeling the weight of everything I'd held in for so long. Yes, I do, she continued, her voice breaking. I've been selfish and I've hurt you more than I ever realized. I thought I could have everything, career, power, him, but I was wrong. I lost you and I lost myself along the way. I closed my eyes, exhaling deeply. I had thought I was ready for this conversation, but hearing her say it, actually hear her admit her mistakes, felt like a punch to the gut. I didn't just lose my career, Liam, she whispered. I lost the only person who truly cared about me. I swallowed hard, biting my lip. And now, I could feel the walls I'd built around myself starting to crack. Was this some kind of trick? Was she just trying to get me to soften, to take her back? You want me to just forget everything? The lies, the betrayal. No, Claire said, her voice firm now, almost pleading. I don't want you to forget. I want you to believe me when I say I was wrong. I've learned, Liam, I've learned that ambition isn't everything. Not when you lose what matters most. I felt a surge of emotions, more than I had felt in weeks. Anger, pain. But under all of that, something else. Something unfamiliar. Was it hope? Could I really forgive her? Could I trust her again? I can't just go back to what we were, Claire. I can't, I said, feeling the finality of those words. My voice broke as I continued. But I don't want to stay angry forever either. I don't know if I can give you what you want. But if you want a chance, we rebuild from the ground up. There was a long silence on the other end, the kind that stretched on like it was never going to end. But then I heard her breath, shaky and relieved. I'll do whatever it takes, she said softly. I'll earn your trust. I'll be patient. I just want to try again. I stood up, pacing around my small living room. It's not about me forgiving you, Claire, I said, my voice stronger now. It's about us choosing something real, something honest. We can't keep pretending. You can't just keep climbing while I watch from the sidelines. We need to start fresh with trust and respect. I know, she replied, her voice full of sincerity. I'll do that. I want us to be real. I don't need to have everything anymore, Liam. I just want you. I just want us. For a moment, I stood there, the weight of everything still heavy in my chest, but something in me softened. Maybe it was the rawness in her voice. Maybe it was the quiet truth in her words. Maybe it was the fact that I wanted to believe we could be more than just what we had been. Okay, I said. The word a promise. We take it slow. We start over. Together. I'll choose us, she said, the words clear and firm like a vow. I choose us, I exhaled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The past didn't matter anymore, not in the way it used to. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could change what we did next, and I wanted to move forward. Not for her, not for revenge, but for myself. For us. A year had passed since everything turned upside down. A year of hard conversations, painful truths, and moments when I thought it would all fall apart. But here we were, standing side by side, still trying, still fighting for what we had left. We walked through the park where it all started, where I first met Claire, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the weight of everything that had happened. The bitterness, the anger, the hurt. It was still there, but it wasn't holding me hostage anymore. Remember this place? Claire's voice cut through the silence, soft and thoughtful. Yeah, I said, glancing at the bench where she first smiled at me. I didn't realize it then, but that smile was the beginning of everything. I never thought we'd come back here, not like this. She laughed, the sound light, but with a hint of something deeper. Neither did I, but here we are. I stopped walking and turned to face her. She was standing a little taller now, her posture strong. Gone was the woman lost in ambition and fear. In front of me was someone who had fought for herself, for us. I used to think it was just about getting through the day, I said, my voice quieter now. But I've learned it's about choosing what really matters. And I choose you, Claire. I've always chosen you. Her eyes softened, and for a brief moment I saw the vulnerability behind her strength. I choose you too, Liam, but I'm not the same person I was before, and I don't think you are either. I'm not, I said, the words feeling more real than they ever had before. But I think that's okay now. I think we're stronger because of it. We stood there for a while, just looking at each other, no words needed. The past had shaped us, but it didn't define us anymore. What mattered was what we were building now. I can't promise that everything will be perfect, she said, her voice steady now. But I'm here. And I'm all in. I know, I whispered. I don't need promises, Claire. I just need the truth, and I've got that from you now. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. After everything we'd been through, it was just us. Not perfect, not unscathed, but real. So, she said, her lips curling into a small, tentative smile. What now? I chuckled, shaking my head slightly. We moved forward, together, slowly, but together. She stepped closer, her hand reaching out to mine. I took it, feeling the warmth of it, the trust in it. We didn't choose easy, I said, feeling a wave of certainty wash over me. But we chose each other, and that's enough for me. Me too, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.